Alright, what is up, y'all? Even through the wind noise. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Today is the 2nd of May, 2026. This is a video under our main side. Sorry, Dante. Dante's here, my current standard poodle, by my feet. Okay. But what we do here is our slogan, which is allowing the body to work. Clothing, huh? Yeah, clothing. It's the only thing physically placed on our bodies. We are a clothing company here, under In The Image Clothing Company, our 5-word company name, for the sake of allowing the body to work, because clothing has to stay centered, fit correct, and be made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials, because, well, Earth's gravity, Earth's vertical gravity pull, meshing with this horizontal surface, this perpendicular angle, this 90-degree right angle, the center line to our bodies, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw, stabilizing the entire body. All of these things in the center line of the body, well, we got to keep our bodies centered, okay? There's only one way the human body could ever work. No possible opinion or claim to how the body works, or that there's only one way it does. The human body is just a mechanical machine placed onto this rock in space that is our Earth. There's just functionality through hinges, levers, rotations, and just operation through measurable mathematical degrees of motion. Okay, there really is only one way the human body could ever work, and we just have to allow it to. Being designed in the image of God, in the image of Jesus Christ, we are a clothing company here, like I'm saying, to address clothing. Hats, though, glasses, jewelry, not just tops and pants, shoes and socks, but gloves, undergarments, whatever it is, everything, anything, all things you could possibly place onto the body has the possibility of altering the body. So what can happen big time is we get into chronic patterning, where we've got things placed onto our bodies day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. Decades go by, almost an entire lifetime. All of a sudden, your body's in deep, deep, deep patterning. Okay, everything in the body just tracks in line. A couple of video titles here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side are these: the human body is just mechanics, and the human body only pulls. Okay, the human body only pulls. The musculature just pulls to close a hinge joint, or on the opposite side of the same function, the same musculature, the opposing musculature pulls to extend the same hinge joint, right? We pull to close, or we pull to extend, and on either end we've just got a full range to this, and then the bones hit into each other and you'll never go anywhere else. There's only one way the human body could ever work, and it resides in its neutral positions. Down or up with something like the wrist, from the neutral, just straight out the outside of the forearm, down and out the pinky finger, just the way the shape and length of the bones connect to each other directly through ligaments. And then we've got musculature connecting to our bones through tendons, and it only pulls. And directly in line is the only thing the muscles can possibly ever do. Okay, of the body, of the human being. There's only one way the human body could ever work. So yeah, we just have to keep our bodies working properly in their neutral positions, just staying activated as a whole. The thing with the human being is it's designed by God to work. That's why we have it, is for it to take us across this planet Earth with, okay? Before we ever had anything we invented as human beings, God designed the human being in his image. That's always been the exact same. In order for God to word it as him designing us in his image, God had to first look like us to be able to even say that he designed us in his image. God, also being called the truth, is the same yesterday, today, and forever, just meaning unchanging. Okay, so don't believe us. Under In The Image Clothing Company, me, personally, Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Any of our team members, though, even any of our poodles over on In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, another one of our fourths, just meaning with any of our information, truth is truth, even through the wind noise. You don't have to believe truth for it to be truth. And you don't have to hear me all that well for this information to be documented under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company on the 2nd of May, 2026. All right. So here's the thing, though. This video's title, under In The Image Clothing Company's main side, where spine tension really comes from. Spine tension. What's the spine? Well, it's one of the things in the center line of the body. The spine is made up of a lot of little bones called vertebrae, and they just stack on top of each other. And we've got motion, left or right. From the center, though, or the neutral, meshing with Earth's vertical gravity pull in the center line of our bodies. Forward, or back. From the center, though, or the neutral, meshing with Earth's vertical gravity pull in the center line of our bodies from front to back. Okay, the spine, it's got a lot of motion in it. It's got a curvature to it, 3 separate parts to it. The lower spine is the lumbar, the mid spine is the thoracic, and then the upper spine is just the neck, really. But it's called the cervical spine. Even through the wind noise, I get it. I understand. But, yeah, here's the point with the curving to the spine, is we've got this even mathematical opposing bend front to back in the body from bottom to top to just stay vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull. The ankles bend backward, the knees bend forward, the hips bend backward, the low back bends forward, the mid back bends backward, and the upper back, like I said, just the neck, really the cervical spine, it bends forward. And so the spine's got this natural curve in it, and there's a lot of things that can alter things like, quote, the natural curve in the spine, and also, after we unquote that thing there, yeah, quote, the natural bend in the knee, unquote. Anyway, 2 video titles there under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here, because we can really alter our bodies, and our bodies can become very, very damaged, okay? And the thing is, the spine just has this natural curve to it. The spine has to stay straight up from left to right, because it's in the center line of our bodies, okay? And Earth's vertical gravity pull just meshes with that centered pull straight down. But then also, the spine curving front to back, it needs to have this normal amount of curvature in the low back, and the mid back, and the upper back, because it's got to just be evenly crossing back and forth from Earth's vertical gravity pull on either side, you know, as the body bends front to back just to stand up and just have some slight bend in all the joints to have the musculature support the body. This is how the body works. The body's about the bones. You can't have musculature to even talk about unless there's first bones there for the muscles to connect to. All the bones of the body are there already, connected directly through ligaments. Bones are just the shape and length that they are. They'll never possibly do anything else. They just connect to each other very nicely because the ends of them where they connect are shaped very specifically and intentionally by the designer of the human being, Jesus Christ. Seriously, to have the bones mesh together so they can work. We've just got a thin little layer of cushioning called cartilage between these bones. Any bone in the body that just hits into another bone, well, it doesn't quite. There's a little layer of cushioning there. It is called cartilage, and what that does is it allows the bones to not wear each other out, okay? But, as I'm saying, if the spine doesn't stay straight up, you know, left to right, meshing with Earth's vertical gravity pull, and if the spine doesn't stay evenly curving front to back, just opposing Earth's vertical gravity pull, back and forth as it comes up, the spine can be damaged. All of these little bones stacking in the spine, the little vertebrae, they are only shaped the way that they are, and they mesh with each other very well. And there's quite a lot of forward and back motion in the spine. There's quite a lot of left to right motion in the spine. But we should never intentionally twist the spine. No, don't do that. We've got rotations in our bodies. And we've also got a little snippet that I took from a longer video under In The Image Clothing Company's main site, currently, as of today's date at least, the 2nd of May 2026, titled, what I said there, never intentionally twist the spine. Torsion or twisting on the spine, it's not a natural thing. The rotation of the body comes from the shoulders okay, and the hips. There's a lot of rotation in the body. Okay, internal rotation coming in, essentially, to the center of the body more, or external rotation, okay, going out away from the body more. And this rotation in the body is coming from the feet up to the hips, or the hands up into the shoulders, and the spine is just between the hips and the shoulders. Okay, so this video's title, this is a big deal. It's something a lot of people deal with. The title is, as I said, right, what really causes spine tension? Well, what I mean by spine tension is just tension in the back, right? You've got the spine in the rear. It's our vertical support from the base of our skull, okay, down to our hip structure or our pelvis. That's the spine. It travels that whole distance. Our rib cage, it connects into the spine in the rear. These bones that cage our lungs are essentially balloons that, we breathe into. We just open a void space by contracting musculature. A difference in pressure of gases happen where the air in our atmosphere rushes into our lungs and we breathe in. And then we contract these muscles in a different way, different muscles, to close the area inside of our lungs, and we breathe air out. We breathe in oxygen, we exchange it with carbon dioxide, and the plants do it the opposite way. They breathe in carbon dioxide and then breathe out oxygen for us to use. Okay, it's a cycle. The rib cage is bones that protect these lungs, and as it comes from the spine and the rear, all the bones of the rib cage, they come around the body and they connect into the sternum in the center line of the body in the front. So anyway, what I'm saying is the spine's got rib bones connecting into it, a lot of little individual bones stacking to cage our lungs. The spine is the only vertical bone support from the hips to the shoulders. It is, okay? At our legs, we've got one on either side. A leg, okay, going down from the hips to the feet. At the foundation of our bodies, we've got arches in our feet that grip inward, opposing the center line of the human being, and that's what keeps us vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull. But once we get above the hips, coming from the feet up the two legs on either side of the body, we get to the hips and we come into the center line of the body, and now the spine's the only vertical support for the whole body. It's just right in the center, and it's just made up of a lot of little bones that are stacking. They're small. When I say little bones, they are small, like fit in the palm of your hand kind of small, little bones. And the thing is, they're potentially fragile if we're not careful with them. We can break bones of the spine, and that's dangerous. We've got the brain in our skull, okay, sending electrical signals out through the entire body, down the brain's stem. It stems into the spine, and then traveling out through the whole body with our nervous system, this electrical system. This is what tells the muscle fibers to fire, for example. Muscles only pulling or getting closer together is all they can do. Stretch in clothing, it only exists as of tens of years ago from today's date, give or take, right? The 2nd of May, 2026. Stretch goes the opposite direction of the only way the human body could ever possibly function. The only way the body works is by the muscles working to stabilize the skeletal system, and the muscles only pull. Stretch goes the opposite way, right? So stretch in clothing, it's one of those things we deal with as human beings living in this modern man-made world placed onto God's natural earth that just damages our bodies if we're taking part in it, if you will, okay? So yeah, let's talk about the spine, okay? The spine, it's a big deal. The thing is, yeah, where spine tension really comes from, the thing is just tension in the back, tightness in our back. What's going on in the back? There's no good for the, spine to be there, really. Just as bones alone. What's it gonna do? Nothing, just fall over. With Earth's vertical gravity pull, a slight bit of wind blows it over and it falls onto the ground. Really, right? Just all the bones of the body, they don't have any support until the muscles connect to them through these tendons. We've got muscles pulling on one side of the neutral from a function, and muscles pulling on the other side of the neutral from a function, and these opposing sides pull to stabilize in the center, or the neutral. For the spine, it's muscles on our left side pulling us left, and muscles on our right side pulling us right, but there's the neutral, which is just standing up vertically. Muscles in the front of the body pulling us forward, or muscles in the rear of the body pulling us back from the neutral, or its vertical gravity pull is the neutral. So spine tension. Well, the thing is, muscles only pull, okay? So in the back, we've got muscles on either side of the back, okay? We've got a lot of muscles that are opposing the center, like I'm showing here with the wrist. Muscles can pull the wrist down, only from somewhere can you pull somewhere else, though, which is the neutral. Like all the fingers just tracking in line, quote, there is only one way the hands work, unquote, and there is only one way the feet work is another video also. Those are two video titles under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here that I filmed, me, Evan Strong, the founder and leader for life of In The Image Clothing Company. But yeah, here in beautiful St. George, Utah, before my current standard poodle Dante and I moved down here, back in November of 2025, I filmed those videos. The point is, there's nothing the body could ever possibly do besides the shape and length of the bones connecting and then how they move. It's just a mechanical machine. It's impossible to train the human being to get it to do something, or just to get the body to do anything that it just doesn't already do. Unless you change the shape and length of the bones, it couldn't possibly do anything else. It's impossible. Mechanically, mathematically, literally, truthfully, physically impossible for the body to be trained to do something. And so a lot of what happens is people damage their bodies. The thing is, yeah, right, you can gain all the excess muscle mass you want by working your body out excessively. Well, once you stop excessively working your body, it goes back to the human body's only normal. The normal heart rate per minute, the normal breathing rate per minute, the respiratory rate, okay? The normal the normal body temperature, 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, always. The normal amount of fat content versus muscle mass in the body to have a healthy balance. Individually, our bodies are different to the degree they are within this universal human design. But, the normal amount of water in the body to lubricate it versus food in the body to fuel it at a time. There's just a normal to every human being, and it's different from human to a degree. But, yeah, you'll never get your body to do anything that it doesn't just do already. It's impossible. Truly. Impossible. There's no opinion to it. It's physics. It's measurable mathematical truth. Okay. God's law, too. I mean, matter cannot be created or destroyed. We only have the amount of stuff on this earth that's always been here because God created the earth and then he created the human beings to place onto the earth. We eat plants or animals. They grow from the earth and our bodies literally become the earth. And then once we die, our bodies just decompose back to the earth, right? So the point is, the goal is natural on all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company, and there's no opinion to natural. It's the only thing that exists. Okay, natural, neutral, and normal are synonyms within how the human being functions and just the bodies of animals, like the dogs over on In the Image Clothing Company poodles, which we'll talk about if we do in this video. But the thing with the spine is it only does what it does. That's what I'm saying, just giving a lot of context to get to that point, so you know what I'm really saying and how that is truly the case for every human being to ever live, every body who has one, or everyone who has a body on any end of time, if you will. It's always the exact same. The human being, you dig up people from thousands and thousands of years ago, their preserved, mummified bodies, and it's the same as nowadays. It always will be. The human being and how it works. So we can have all this advice on how things work, or we can understand how it works. Okay, there's a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, even through the wind noise, right? And its title is Anatomy Understanding versus Fitness Advice. And we just need understanding to be developed in our own beings on how this body works, because it only does what it does. We'll never have advice to help us with it. It only does what it does for every human being to ever live. Before I lived and after I die, it's nothing to do with me. Other than, as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong, I discuss things so thoroughly you couldn't possibly dispute what we're saying here. It's not our choices, right? We don't get to decide or change truth as human beings, but where spine tension really comes from is almost never from the back or from the spine. Almost never. Unless you have an actual injury to your spine that you can remember, like you fell down and hit your back on something, your actual spine or musculature of your back near your spine, or you did something and you really twisted and tweaked your back or your spine, and there's like one specific pinpoint moment where something like an injury happened. If it's just something that kind of developed over time, this we could call chronic pain, persistent pain, chronic patterning, it's coming from somewhere else, almost certainly, in almost every single case ever, than actually from your spine. If you're feeling tension, tightness, discomfort in your spine or in your back, right around your spine. The thing is, the spine is the bone of the back. All those little bones, that's the spine. All the musculature does is stabilize or move those bones, right? And so the thing with the body is a neutral position, right? That's what I'm saying. If our bodies aren't in a neutral position, well, the spine's in the center. It's going to take a beating. This jaw, stabilizing the entire body, for example, it's in the center. And if the jaw's not centered, well, the entire body gets damaged. But if any part of the body is not working properly, the jaw can become uncentered because the jaw is in the center. So if the body moves off to one side, the jaw is going to have a hard time just doing what it does and just being this hinge joint, right? Centered, because the rest of the body is not centered if it's not. So yeah, I mean, this is the thing. The jaw is stabilizing the entire body. It's got musculature that comes down through the collars of our tops. We are a clothing company. To allow the body to work only is the reason. But look at the collar of my top move as I move the musculature of my jaw. Wow, yeah, right. So keeping collars centered and the importance of snug collars, two big focuses and video titles here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. Anyway, we've just got even opposing musculature from the center line of things, the neutral of things, and the center line of the body is the spine. So we've got a lot of muscles is the big focus here with this video. They could be imbalanced, but how and why? Well, this is what I'm saying. No kind of claim, no kind of sales pitch, no kind of conditional to a time period or a human being part of the earth type of anything at all like that. Clothing, it truly is the only fix to human beings' physical problems, like physical mechanical functioning problems, which is what the human being is just a mechanical machine to move us across the earth. Well, how could it not be? You know, we just don't know what we don't know, and we can't be held accountable for what we don't know, but clothing's the only thing physically placed on our physical bodies. And we're trying to move our bodies, you know, and we've got things like joints of material of clothing meshing with joints of body parts, and they just need to mesh. Otherwise, the joints of the body parts aren't going to work properly. They only do what they do. They only connect directly at these bones, which are essentially just an immovable stick by themselves. I like to discuss it like that. Bones aren't going to do anything by themselves until they connect to another bone where these bones join. We've got joining bones. This is the joints of the body, and they only do what they do and never anything else, right? And so the point with all of this lead up is context, because I don't have a claim on this, but truth is truth. Don't believe me. Hey Dante, where you going, dog? It's okay. You have shade here. You are good. A good dog. All right. Clothing, right? If you've got years and years of anything like this, oversized clothing, here comes the wind again. Imbalances of any kind in clothing, when we've got things like shoelaces and drawstrings, these are just ropes introduced to the body. Well, we've got buttons and zippers and pockets and just seams that could be rotated, things that are discrepant or different in certain parts of the clothing that's not in other parts of the clothing. We've got Earth's gravity having the same effect on our clothing that it has on our bodies, and we've got a center line to all this. We've got even mathematical degrees of functioning in all the ways the human being can move, and they has to stay in the neutral to be able to move from there to either side. So clothing, right? It's the only thing physically placed on our body. It's just got to be centered, man. It's got to allow the body to work. We discuss a lot of things in depth, but, you know, in the Image Clothing Company's main side, today, the 2nd of May, 2026, this video's title is Where Spine Tension Really Comes From. Because you're going to have a lot of people trying to tell you all sorts of things on how to fix your back pain. And you'll never do it if you don't get to the only reason it's actually happening. So where is that, and what is that? Well, it varies and it differs, but how do we find it? Well, the thing is with the even opposing musculature from the back, on the back, right from the spine, is we've got muscles that connect on the right side into the spine, and muscles that connect from the left side into the spine. And if these muscles aren't evenly right next to each other, and if they can't just evenly connect things like the shoulders straight to the spine, but if we've got one shoulder slightly, I'm talking extremely, very slightly different at all, lower than the other shoulder, now when we pull the shoulders closer to the spine by the musculature that just connects the shoulders to the center line of the body, just to hold the shoulders onto our bodies, right? There's musculature in the rear of our body connecting our shoulders to the spine. There's musculature in the front of our bodies connecting the shoulders to the sternum, right? The center line of the body as well. But this video is about the spine, and the spine's our vertical support from the hips up to the base of the skull. Well, yeah, no, I said earlier from the hips up to the shoulders, but no, I mean up to the base of the skull. It's just the spine. That's the only vertical bone that's actually supporting our bodies. It's not one bone. It's many, many, many little bones stacking, these vertebrae of the spine. So the big point is, yeah, you've got even opposing musculature upper trapezius, middle trapezius, lower trapezius, one on the left and one on the right, evenly opposing each other, connecting from the shoulders to the spine in the center of the body. Okay, the shoulder blades, these big bones on our upper back called scapulas or shoulder blades. So it's got to be even. As we pull the shoulders to the spine, we've got to pull them evenly. We've got these big muscles down our back, the latissimus dorsi muscle, you know, on either side, connecting evenly into the spine. You've got a lot of little muscles in the lower back and between the shoulder blades where there's quite a few muscles of the back connecting into the spine, right? Quadratus lumborum down from the bottom, rhomboids between the shoulder blades, all sorts of things like this going on. Okay, just a lot of muscles in the body. There's over 400 muscles in the body, okay, connecting to the over 200 bones in the body just to stabilize and move the body. Well, not all 400 of the muscles in the body are connecting to bones. There's other types of muscles in the body, like in our organs, but what I'm saying is those muscles play a different function, like passing food through our digestive system, for example, but they're still musculature. They're just not connecting to a bone. When it comes to muscles that connect to bones, okay, the body has to have things like the arms be connected to the spine. Otherwise, they're not connected to the spine, right? Through musculature. If we've got muscles on the right side of our body, from the shoulder to the spine, connecting just slightly higher, let's say, than muscles on the left side of the body, connecting from the shoulder blade to the spine, when we pull the shoulders just evenly to the center line of the body, like just pulling our shoulders back and in towards the spine like this, like those middle trapezius, you know, just straight in between our two shoulders, really, the shoulder blades or the scapulas. When we just pull our shoulders just straight back, let's say we've got one shoulder slightly higher than the other. As we pull these shoulders together, we twist the entire body like this. Because the spine's in the very center. The spine's our vertical support. And so if you're going through life and you don't have shoulders that are just about exactly, and really pretty well exactly even heights, if one shoulder is slightly lower, now when we just pull our shoulders together in the rear of our body, we twist the body. Because, I mean, just imagine having like a stick, seriously, you know, and you connect something on one side of the stick, like a rope, and you connect something else on the other side of the stick, another rope. If they're connected evenly at even areas or heights on the stick on either side, then as you pull on either side, it'll just stay in the same spot. But if you have a stick and you connect a rope a little bit lower on one side than you do on the other side, so one side's connected a little bit higher and one side's connected a little bit lower, as you pull, this is going to twist the whole stick. That stick is our spine in the metaphor, okay, if you see what I'm saying. So we've got muscles that are determined by where our shoulders are. The shoulders can really come up on one side or really go down on the other. Like, look at this. If I have one shoulder this much higher than the other shoulder, and I try to pull my shoulders now back and into the center line of my body where they just connect to the spine, I'm going to twist my body. Okay? Or vice versa. Let's say now we've got the other side higher and this side lower. If I pull these muscles straight into the center line of the body at the spine, it's just going to twist the spine. You know, I mean, you're just pulling on something and it'll just twist. If it's not pulling, well, this is a good example. Centered. If I put my fingers together here and I pull just straight across, like just having even height shoulders, okay, in their centered or neutral position, just how the body works, right? Residing in its relaxed state, really. I mean, just neutral positions in the body is how the body works, right? Always. In this position, if I just pull my shoulders straight together from the musculature connecting my shoulders, these big bones on the upper back in this case, the scapulas or the shoulder blades, to the spine, then I'm just pulling straight together in the center. The shoulders stay the same height, and everything stays even in my body from where this musculature is working between my shoulder blades or scapulas all the way down to the tips of my toes, up to the tip of my head, and out to the tips of my fingers, which I'm showing here as a visual. It's all going to stay in the same location if they're evenly opposing each other height-wise, left to right, okay? But if I have one side of my shoulders higher, meaning one side of my body from the spine in the center higher than the other side, so one shoulder is sitting higher than the other, and if I just try to pull my shoulders close to my spine, I'll just twist my whole body, okay? As you just twist the body, you know, you pull on something and you just twist it if it's not centered, okay? The other shoulder higher, you just twist the body. You just twist the body, or you twist the body if one side's higher. Either side, right higher, you twist the body. Left higher, you twist the body. You know, if we've got even height shoulders, then we can just pull the shoulders together at the spine, and we can just keep the whole body centered, because Earth's gravity has this centered pull that just meshes with the center line of our spine. Okay, the center line of our bodies, which is our spine. So yeah, all this musculature on either side of the body connecting to the spine, well, there's a lot of it, like I'm saying. There's many, many, many muscles connecting to the spine and the center line of the rear of the body. Okay. Now this is what we can have, is what I was just saying. Different heights in our shoulders. Okay. And now, if we've got different height shoulders, we pull toward the center line of the body, just to stabilize the body. The closer you get to the center line of the body, the more stable it is, the more contracted the musculature is, the more working it is, right? And as we do this, the body gets twisted. But the thing is with the spine, it's not like something that you can just kind of not worry about having be twisted a little bit. It'll travel down to the tips of your toes. It'll travel out to the tips of your fingers and up to the tip of your head if you twist the spine. It's in the very center of the body. So, under In The Image Clothing Company, well, we're a clothing company, and no kind of claim, no kind of approach. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Why isn't it? Are you restricting it by placing something onto it physically that you could say you are clothing it with? It doesn't matter what it is. You don't have to care about fashion in the slightest. It's just the literal word of something placed onto something else. The way that God clothes the fields with grass here in beautiful St. George, Utah, is just like this sagebrush and tumbleweeds and things like this in this red rock, right? But whatever it is, this stuff is clothing the ground, if you will. We place anything onto our bodies, we're clothing our bodies with something. You know, over on In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, we clothe our dogs with anything. Collars, leashes, harnesses, bandanas, slip leads. It's not actual clothing like a shirt, necessarily. What I'm saying is, you know, information applying to all dogs on letting dogs stay natural. Over on In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, it's the same approach we have here with allowing the body to work for us human beings, being our slogan, under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. And the point is, yeah, I mean, you just have to have even body parts. There's so many different little insertions of musculature to the spine. All of these muscles that connect to the spine and the rear, well, they all have their own tendons, which are insertions where the muscle connects or inserts to the bone, and then it can stabilize or move the bones of the body, right? So if we don't have even musculature left to right in our bodies, we'll twist our whole body, and then it'll have tension because Earth's gravity is still vertical and centered, always. In our bodies, if the spine, which is in the center of them, is twisted, right? Just because the bones that connect to the center line of the body at the spine are not at even heights, like the bones of the shoulder. We've got the scapula back there, which is what I'm saying these muscles are connecting to the spine through, just directly from the shoulder to the spine. But the shoulder is the collarbone, called clavicle, here in the front, one of the three bones of the shoulder. In the rear, we've got the shoulder blade, called scapula, which is one of the three bones of the shoulder. But then we've got the upper arm bone, called the humerus, which is one of the three bones of the shoulder, and it is the hand. You know, we lock the hand out from the shoulder by straightening the elbow between the two. I showed this positioning earlier in this video, but the hand becomes the shoulder. They've been the same thing the entire time, but the hand and the shoulder will do the exact same thing. if we straighten the elbow between the two of them, rotation-wise, internal rotation or external rotation, and then just all the functioning. Anywhere the hand goes, the shoulder goes. Anywhere the shoulder goes as well, though, the hand goes. So this is the same from the foot up to the hip. Okay, we lock the foot out from the hip at the knee, straightening the knee between the foot and hip. The foot and the hip do the same thing. Internal rotation or external rotation, or just anywhere the foot goes, the hip goes. We've got rotations from our fingertips up to our elbow and these two bones in the forearm, the radius and ulna. The thumb up with the elbow bent, with the elbow at the natural waist, right? Keeping elbows at the natural waist, the video's title here, under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. Above these hip bones, but below those lowest ribs, where there's no bones, like we're saying in this video, until you get to the center line of the body, at the spine. Then our elbow joints don't hit into bones. That's because that's the neutral position. And there's only one way the human body could ever work, and God designed it to work. And it just would, unless or until altered, but chronic patterning. Ropes introduced to the body. You're tying your shoes all differently on either side, from the other side. Lacing versus tying, and, twisting your body at the waist with a drawstring to hold your pants up. Damage permanently until fixed or addressed. Chronic patterning, where scar tissue builds up in the body and bone spurs build up, where if the bones aren't allowed to track in line by the musculature pulling just directly in line and the bones just moving directly in line, the only way they connect to each other. But if the body's out of its only neutral position, just because it's not fully working properly, activated as a whole, everything in the body has its own individual role to play, even through the wind noise, right? And no compensation can happen where something's trying to make up for the role of something else not working properly in the body, because they all do something completely different, just all the parts of the body. So they've all got to play their function and pull their own weight, if you will. But if this isn't happening properly by something physically in the way, the literal word of clothing our bodies with anything at all, it's not just allowing our bodies to work properly, okay, in all the ways that could happen by just choosing to place something onto the body that just wasn't there before you chose to do that, If it's not working for the body gets damaged. And yeah, bones not tracking in line, the muscles pull on the bones where they connect to them through tendons. And where these muscles connect to the bones through tendons, if the bones can't just move, the only way the bones are shaped and connect at the ends to move, then the musculature pulls on the bone. And the bone actually grows excessively unnatural. That's a bone spur, The body gets damaged. Just tension's being pulled on the bones in a way that it doesn't actually move properly. And it's just a hard thing for the body to deal with. So it actually causes the bone to grow, okay? Like a bumped out looking bone, on the body. And we live in this right-handed world. 85%, give or take, of human beings in modern 2026. Today's the 2nd of May. Are right-handed. Okay, 2nd of May, 2026. In the Image Clothing Company's main side. What really causes spine tension? Okay. Yeah. This right-handed world where, even if you don't have clothing placed onto your body, we could get into a right-handed patterning, just using one side of our bodies more than the other from the center line of the body at the spine. This video's title, right? What really causes spine tension? Well, anything that's not allowing the things connecting into the spine on either side to just be even heights. And so in this right-handed world, if we're in a right-handed patterning, just using the right side of our bodies almost always over the left side, and if you're left-handed, it could be the opposite way as well, but the right side of the body in a right-handed patterning just gets dropped lower, rotated externally more, and just farther away from the body, just because that's what it means to just reach down, or forward even, with the right hand. And, products that are designed to be used are designed to be used with the right hand. If they're one-hand products, like a pair of scissors, you can't really use it with the left hand. Either way you flip it over, it's just the same on either side. So we live in this right-handed society, this modern man-made world. Clothing designs, to the degree that they are right-handed, and And we're just doing things like eating. You know, we've got a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side titled Eating and Drinking with the Left Hand. And really just meaning non-dominant, but in this right-handed world, at least for the vast majority of human beings, they're right-handed, you know. We need to use both sides of our bodies to keep things like our jaw centered that stabilize our entire body. Anyway, the point is, anything ever that you could possibly have get your body into some kind of thing we could call a patterning, where its normal pattern of working, like walking, just swinging the arms forward and back evenly. This is a pattern. Forward and back and forward and back. The legs swing forward and back and forward and back. The feet dorsiflex and plantar flex and dorsiflex and plantar flex. And here's Dante again. You know, it's a pattern of functioning. Just the human being. The heart beating. It's a pattern of functioning. Right? The lungs breathing. It's a pattern of functioning. Anyway, so we get into a chronic misaligned pattern or a damaging pattern to our bodies that's not in its only neutral working positions, but like a right-handed patterning, for example. Okay, from the feet to the hips, up through the spine, through the shoulders, out to the fingertips, and up to the tip of the head. The jaw moves off to the right. Anyway, right. This can come from anything. But if we've got right-handed clothing designs, which we just do where we do in modern 2026, and clothing design is shipped across the entire earth in ways that never could have possibly happened in the past before we had the technology to do that. So people are wearing basically universal clothing designs across basically the entire planet in modern day. And so any imbalances, well, it's going to be a broad spread, fairly universal imbalance just for the population of human beings at the time. But anyway, yeah, I mean, even if we never wore clothing, we could get into a right-handed patterning. And it's like I was saying earlier with just the even opposing musculature connecting into the spine. When we activate this musculature, the spine's always going to stay in the center line of the body. Bones don't move. They don't change shape. They only move where they connect to other bones, but that's a very specific location and shape and connected through a ligament, and they just can't possibly do anything else besides just what they can do. Just the human body and all aspects of what it is. The bones are just its frame. All the muscles do is move the bones, and so all the body can do is what the bones are shaped like and connected to each other through, you know. There's only one way the human body could ever work. But if we are a little bit lower on one side of the body than the other, now, as we just move our bodies, and I'm not saying as you go play some kind of sport, or go do all your athleticism, or go work your body out. I'm saying when you breathe, even. You know, breath, it takes the entire body in some degree to stabilize in every single breath we take. We're expanding and contracting this rib cage in 360 degrees, meaning just all the way around. If it's not altered, you know, and the body was always unaltered until it was potentially altered, right? I mean, you're born naked, for example, as a baby. It's a commandment by God to stay modest and wear clothing. And clothing, it keeps us safe from the elements, you know. It keeps us warm in the cold. It keeps us protected from, you know, weather. Really, I mean, there's a lot of beautiful reasons we have to wear clothing where we do, or at least that it's very, very beneficial to. You see what I mean? Well, we have to, if you're abiding by God's commandment of just staying modest. Seriously, I'm serious. What I'm saying is, we are in the Image Clothing Company, after all, founded upon the gospel of Jesus Christ, specifically within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Don't believe me, okay, truly, but truth is truth, regardless of what I say, or if I was even here to say anything. This would still be happening. A right-handed patterning, for example, okay, it just is what it is. Every human to ever live. You could potentially just have one side of your body be used more than the other side of your body. Things like this, the importance of the same size hands. A video's title here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. Okay, but yeah, if anything's different on either side of the body, well, either side of the body is connecting to the spine, right? The fingertips travel up to the shoulder, and you can't have a hand unless it's first stemming from the shoulder, but the shoulder connects to the main part of the body at the center line, at the spine. So you can't even have fingertips without a spine. Your toes, you know, they connect from your hip down your leg to your foot. Before you can get to your toes, you have to have a hip, and then the whole leg in between as well. But before the hip, you have to have a spine, because just for the body to be alive, it's got to come from the brain to just give it electricity, you know, power, if you will. And then that stems into the spine before it could ever get down to the fingertips or toe tips. Yeah, the spine's in the center line of the body is the point. Yeah, this video's title, right? The 2nd of May, 2026, in the Image Clothing Company's main side. What really causes spine tension? Well, only what does. You can't have a tense spine, just like you can't have tight muscles. If they're allowed to track just directly in line, you can't have tight muscles. The body's designed by God to work. It can just close the joint and open the joint and close the joint and open the joint all day, every day. You might get fatigued from just, causing it to happen. It just takes energy to do. But you can't get stiff, tight muscles the way we're talking about what spine tension really is in this video. You would never be able to have tension in your spine. You couldn't, unless, just like I'm saying, just getting fatigued from just doing so much motion throughout the day or something, But I don't want to give some kind of blanket statement. I want to say this thoroughly enough to where you really know that I know what I'm saying here. But you couldn't. If muscles were just evenly opposing the center line of the spine as they connect into it, they can just pull together and relax. Pull together and relax. All muscles do is pull together, and then they can relax, and that's all muscles do in the body. Every muscle that's in the body, it just pulls. And there's just muscles on either side that just pull, right? There's only one way the human body could ever work. There's no claim here. It's the truth. This is physics. It's just like making a machine, Like I was saying earlier, I was talking about connecting ropes to a stick. Well, we're connecting muscles to bone. It's the same thing. It's just motion, physically, Measurable mathematical degrees of motion. It's just what it is. There's only one way the human body could ever possibly work. But if our muscles aren't just evenly opposing the center line, that's a pretty good-sized lizard right there. Pretty thick compared to a lot of the little lizards that are running around here so often. Cool. Yeah, but just a difference in musculature where it connects into the spine. We twist the whole spine, and now, well, it's not even. That's where spine tension really comes from. Yeah. The thing is, man, clothing. If you don't have even edge seams of your tops, it's no kind of sales pitch. It's truth. This is the truth. This is the fix you need when you're going to your physical therapist or your doctor, your orthopedic person. This is what they're trying to get fixed, and they don't know this if they don't know this. None of us do if we do. I didn't until I did. If your clothing's not evenly sitting at the edges of your shoulders with these edge seams, we discuss where clothing sits very clearly under In the Image Clothing Company. We get into it in depth because there's a lot to it. There's a lot of motion and functionality in the body. There's a lot of locations where clothing could be potentially, not sitting on the body properly and damaging the body. But, yeah, Tops are like a cage for the shoulders. We discussed tops sitting where the edge seams are just right at the very edge of the shoulder because, as I said earlier, we've got joints of body parts meshing with joints of material of clothing. Collarbone called clavicle, shoulder blade called scapula, and upper arm bone called humerus meet. These three bones come together and they are the shoulder joint. We've got joints of material of clothing that need to just be right in the same spot. If you've got clothing that's not sitting evenly left to right at the shoulder edges, and you've just got one shoulder seam that's off to the side of the body more than the other side, well, you're just going to have a different amount of pull on the muscles from the right shoulder connecting into the spine as you are on the muscles of the left shoulder connecting into the spine. Okay? And now you just twist the spine. As these muscles pull together, they're just at different heights when the spine still needs to stay vertical and centered with Earth's vertical gravity pull. You drop one shoulder down, it pulls the spine with it because the shoulder is connected to the spine. Okay, you twist the spine. Spine tension, where does it come from? Well, uneven height shoulders. So, we just talked about that under In the Image Clothing Company. The importance of even height shoulders, a video's title here, under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. But really, things like keeping collars centered and the importance of snug collars. Those two video titles here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, but just focuses in daily life anyway, regardless of In the Image Clothing Company. This even opposing musculature from the center line of the neck, well, it's the jaw. The jaw is stabilizing the head and the entire body with musculature coming up to the crown of the head and out from the lower jawbone to the very edge of the shoulder, as you can see here, moving the collar of my top as I activate it. It's always activated, right? The body as a whole, if it's working all together. But, yeah, right? Contracting the musculature of my jaw, I move the collar of my top. Yeah, there's musculature of the jaw connecting down into the throat, right? The tongue is musculature of the jaw. Yeah, we've got a lot of videos. I could reference a lot of things in here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, you know, discussing a lot of what I'm saying here more thoroughly than I'm just kind of brushing over. But to stick around the spine topic, if the jaw's not centered, it's not going to stabilize the head over the center of the body. The spine is the vertical support coming up into the base of the head, or the skull of the human being. Okay, so if your jaw musculature is off-centered, or if your jaw itself is not sitting centered because you're eating with only one hand and wearing your teeth down, more on one side than the other, just through chewing, friction, you know, we just grind our teeth down over time. It's natural. It's just going to happen. Friction is going to grind things together and wear them down a little bit, you know, meaning when things grind together, even rocks, you're going to wear them down a little bit, even as hard as rocks are, or as hard as bones in the body are, or teeth of the body. They just wear down over time. So if our jaw's not centered, because our collars aren't centered, pulling on our jaw to one side, okay, or the edges of our top seams are not centered, pulling on, well, yeah, our jaw. The head won't be able to stay centered above the body because the jaw musculature stabilizes the entire head on top of the spine. So now you've got the spine crooked. And now if the spine's crooked, well, there's still always just musculature connecting into the spine on either side. So as we just move our arms, we twist the body down to the toes and out to the fingertips and up to the tip of the head through the jaw, even though the jaw caused it in this case, in this hypothetical, if you will. Anyway, this is what really causes spine tension. What's the video's title? What spine tension really is. What really causes spine tension? Okay, well, yeah. The 2nd of May, 2026, in the Image Clothing Company's main site here. Things like this. An imbalanced jaw, your head's not going to sit centered on top of your body. And what your head is on top of really is the spine. Okay. Yeah, uneven collars of your tops. Keeping collars centered. Well, in the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, anytime there's anything at all we could call a seam, but just something different or discrepant in the collar of a top that needs to sit evenly around the circumference of our neck, it's not going to sit evenly around the circumference of our neck. The circular nature of the neck, that's what circumference means. There's a lot of these little chipmunk animals here too. I don't know if that's like a slang Utah term or what, but kind of like a small squirrel, sort of. Maybe they are called chipmunks. They're just running around all over here. It's cool. This is Pioneer Park in St. George, Utah, where I am currently, just for the sake of letting you know. You know, we're based here in St. George, Utah, as in the Image Clothing Company, and will be for life. It's beautiful, okay? It's like this in a lot of places. There's a specifically one little area that's more like this than some other areas, you know, with the red rock that's quite shaped like this. They call it Pioneer Park. It's all natural, but it's like a park, right? Anyway, what I'm saying is that, yeah, you know, we've got in the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, because we've just got to do all that we can to have collars sitting evenly around our necks, even through the wind noise. All right, you notice my necklace, it's staying centered. You notice my collar here, it's just centered around my neck. You notice that I've got even opposing musculature from my neck on the left and right side connecting into the spine. This video's title, In the Image Clothing Company's main side, the 2nd of May, 2026. What really causes spine tension? Well, an imbalanced collar of a top. There's a video I filmed here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side back in November of 2025, before I moved down here with my current standard poodle Dante to St. George, Utah. Its title is What Really Is Neck Pain? Worded as a question. It's an imbalance of musculature in the neck. A lot of the same things we're discussing in this video, because the neck is the spine. It's just 1/3 of the spine as a whole, okay, the cervical spine. But yeah, you know, you've got an imbalance of musculature around your neck because your collar's imbalanced, or because your shoulder seams aren't sitting evenly at the edge of your shoulders, Earth's gravity, you know, no kind of opinion, it's physics. Gravity is just pulling down on our clothing all day, every day, and it's going to pull our musculature connecting to our spine imbalanced. If the clothing's imbalanced, and then just as we use our bodies in life, we twist our spine because our bodies just have to try to continue to stay standing up or sitting up or just breathing, using musculature to stabilize the entire body at the center line of the body at the spine. And if the spine is just having a difference or a discrepancy in musculature connecting to it on either side, you've got spine tension. Because the only way the spine can be mobile, loose, limber, is if it's neutral, natural, and normal. Okay? Yeah, I mean, if the spine's just meshing with Earth's vertical gravity pull, and if the spine's got a normal front to back curvature in it, just to stay vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull, it's going to be working. You're not going to have spine tension. You couldn't, really. I mean, right, seen with context, you couldn't. It's just neutral. It can move left or it can move right. It can move forward or it can move back. But if the spine's got something like one shoulder lower on one side, and all the musculature connecting the shoulder to the spine just to hold the body together, right, is lower on one side than the other, then you're always just slightly fighting a little bit of an imbalance from Earth's gravity. That's what it is gravity. We discuss gravity so much under In the Image Clothing Company. That's one of the biggest things we ever could possibly talk about having to deal with as human beings, is just the gravity's pull of Earth down on our bodies. Because of the spine is one of the biggest things. The spine's just in the center line of the body. I get the wind noise, I get it, right? Blunt, bold, raw, and real. In the Image Clothing Company. It's just another date marked documentation. The information's here, even if it's relatively hard to hear through some parts of this video. Even if the whole video was hard to hear, it's here, okay? The 2nd of May, 2026. In the Image Clothing Company's main side, spoken by me, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, Evan Strong, just for the sake of documenting the information, okay? Of what really causes spine tension. Okay, this video is titled because, I mean, you can go to the massage therapist, the physical therapist, you can go do all these exercises and whatever, even through all the wind noise, every day of your life that you'd like to for the rest of your life. If you're wearing clothing that's not evenly centered on your body won't be evenly centered because of gravity. And your body gets twisted, just as the musculature does the only thing it can do and pull. Okay? If one side of your body's musculature connecting into your spine is lower than the other side of your body's musculature connecting into your spine, your body twists. And that's just it. And that's the thing, is now you're always just slightly off-centered. If you've got something like a dreaded collar seam, we call it that because your body dreads having anything just imbalanced around the circular nature of your neck. Like a seam would do in a collar, you know, or a tag would do in a collar. Tags in clothing. Just only tens of years ago, as of today's date, the 2nd of May, 2026, is when they started to put tags on the collars of tops, well, just in clothing in general, because we got unnatural, artificial, and synthetic type, synonyms with fake materials invented, and then clothing started to get made out of these things, and stretch came in it and with it, and our bodies got and get damaged if we wear it, right? It also just poisons our bodies, soaking through the holes in our skin. The skin of the body is an organ called the epidermis, and there's pores in the skin, right, where sweat or perspiration comes out. Well, things can go into there as well, and these unnatural, artificial, synthetic type materials that often bring stretch with them that goes the opposite direction of the only way the muscles of the body could ever work, which is pulling together, right? The body only pulls of the human being. The human body only pulls. It works the best the closest to its own center line, right? Well, anyway, a tag in clothing, it's got to be removed anywhere it's placed in clothing. It's one of our 2 prerequisites, as we say, under In the Image Clothing Company, just to not alter the body, in addition to where we just discussed baseline clothing sits, to not alter the body. And anyway, yeah, I mean, you're just causing a physical gap, changing the only neutral centered position of all the musculature around the neck, connecting into the spine, if you've got a tag in the rear of your collar of your top, right? And so Yeah, removing all tags from clothing. It's not a choice if you want your body to work. Just like there's a video's title here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side that is oversized clothing is not a choice. The point is, if you want your body to work, there's only one way this thing connects mechanically at the bones. The muscles just pull them directly in line. Okay, those bones of the body. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying is we've got just any kind of difference at all, left to right in the body, the spine's in the center. And so what I was saying at the more beginning part of this video, when I said you can address your spine all you'd like, it's almost certainly never coming from your spine or your actual back. Any kind of tension in your back that you're feeling or in your spine, it's coming from your hands in, your feet up, your hips up, your shoulders in. Well, here's the thing, okay? Let's say we've got a difference in height of shoulders. Okay. Coming from anything, a seam in the collar of a top, there's just excess material sitting on top of the shoulder here on this upper trapezius muscle. I filmed a video yesterday here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side titled Clothing's Effect on the Upper Trapezius. These muscles that lift the shoulders, the upper third of the 3 trapezius muscles connecting the shoulder blades, like we're discussing in this video, to the spine, like we're discussing in this video, right? There you go. Plays off of yesterday's video in a big way. Okay. In the Image Clothing Company. This is our main side. Today's the 2nd of May, 2026. Yeah. Where spine tension really comes from? Well, you can have anything possibly just having one shoulder higher than the other, like a seam in a collar, or just excess material on one side of a collar that's not on the other side. Anything like this at all, even just clothing that's not sitting evenly at the edges of the shoulders, the side that's sitting more snug at the edge of your shoulder will just sit higher, just because as the musculature of the body contracts or gets closer together, it comes in and up and raises the body. We pivot up an internal rotation on this collarbone called clavicle, or it pivots down an external rotation, but that's just gravity pulling our bodies down and our bodies deactivating more. We've got to activate our body's musculature, contract it to lift us up off Earth's vertical gravity pull, or we just fall onto the ground, right? So up and internal, closer to the body's center line, that's how the body works the best, right? Picture you're cold, for example, to stay the most warm, you go like this, and you bring your arms into your center line, and you bring your legs in together, and you curl up tightly, as close as you can get to your center line of your body. That's how you stay the warmest. That's how the body works the best and the most efficiently, is just the closest to its own centered line. And that's how the spine is the most supported. Here's the wind. Man. The spine of the human being is the most supported, even through the wind noise. I get it. I understand. I totally get it. I get it. That's why I'm addressing it. I get it. It's addressing me, maybe, huh? When the body's as close as it can get to its center, the muscles are just working the most, and that's when the body's the strongest, okay? It is. And so, yeah, oversized clothing, well, you're going to pull your body away from the spine. And now the muscles just aren't working very well because they're just being pulled on. And the muscles work by pulling together where they connect to the bones, right? Pulling one end where a muscle connects to a bone to the other end of the muscle where it connects to another bone. It pulls together the muscle. That's how it works. That's how it does anything. The only other end is relaxing and getting farther apart, like stretch and clothing that damages the human being and is new. Okay. Yeah, right. Being made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials is what clothing has to be in all the ways we possibly can have it be in modern 2026 and going forth. Otherwise, the body's damaged. Well, that's what I mean. Oversized clothing, pulling the musculature connecting into the spine, just, farther away from the spine. Now you'll have tension in your back. There you go. Okay, stretch in clothing, though, it just pulls away. Let's say you've got a clothing item like a top placed on your shoulders, like a t-shirt or something like this, a top item of clothing, like this white t-shirt I'm wearing. If it had stretch in it, it's similar to just having it be oversized, because as you move, it just keeps moving. It stretches away from itself, and it just lets the muscles get pulled away from just their normal contraction to the center of the body at the spine. with Earth's gravity just hanging the arms down. I mean, when Earth's gravity just hangs our arms down at our sides, first of all, they're neutral, front to back. Okay. As long as our feet are starting flat on the ground and our hips are not being altered by waistbands of pants, you know, heels on shoes, things like this will alter the body. We get into this in depth under In the Image Clothing Company. We'll talk about that kind of stuff if and where we do throughout this video. But what I'm saying is, yeah, gravity just pulls the arms down right next to the sides. Now our shoulders are just working in their neutral position. But if the arms can't get right to the sides, well, the collarbone drops down and out, or up and in. This clavicle, it's just pivoting bone to bone on either end. The sternum on one end, and then the other two bones of the shoulder, the humerus called upper arm bone, and the scapula called shoulder blade on the other end. There's just two ends to this bone of the collarbone on the front of the upper chest, right? It's just pivoting around bone to bone on either end. It either goes down and out, or it comes up and in. There's no other possibility. It's just directly bone to bone on either end. Down an external rotation with the collarbone called clavicle, away from the body, or up an internal rotation with the collarbone called clavicle, closer to the center line of the body at the spine. And the neutral is the elbow at the natural waist, because the bottom end of the upper arm bone called the humerus is the elbow joint, but the upper end of the upper arm bone called the humerus is the shoulder. The elbow and the shoulder always go the exact same place. They're connected through an immovable by itself bone, the upper arm bone. Okay. So anyway, yeah, there's only one way the human body could ever work. It's just mechanics. I discuss it so thoroughly, there's no possible opinion to this being an opinion. Truth is truth. It's not my choice, but I know how it works. Eek. Orange and black. What kind of snake is that? There's an orange and black snake, and I've got Dante sitting right here. It's a little snake. It's probably like a foot long and like just very, very thin. Maybe like a 1/4 inch around, diameter. I don't think I've ever seen one of those in my life. I'll probably look that up after this video's over. Orange and black striped horizontal snake. It's just, if it's a venomous snake. Dante's just laying down here on the ground, my standard poodle. It was over there about 10 feet and it was going the other way, but anyway, I don't think I've ever seen one of those snakes in my life, in person like that, in the wild. There's all sorts of stuff out here, man. It's a true desert, St. George, Utah. I mean, it's potentially deadly, truly, seriously, right? I mean, it's just wilderness, really, that they stuck a town in the middle of. Anyway, so yeah, the spine, right? If we can't get our arms to our sides, well, this will happen with an oversized top. We've got videos under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here titled things like the importance of even elbow extension. And that's what I'm saying, is if there's a gap between the elbows and the sides, you'll never extend your elbows. And also, just to get your shoulder up, you have to extend your elbow all the way. So to have your shoulder just rest in a neutral position at its height, it has to rest in a neutral position at the side of the body, where Earth's gravity just hangs it down from, with our feet actually supporting our bodies though, gripping those arches inward, opposing the center line, working properly, pointing straight forward from the different length 5 toes we have as human beings. Pinky toe pointing straight forward, we roll evenly off the ends of our different length 5 toes. We've got a video's title here under In the Image Clothing Company's main site that is different length toes. We've got a video's title here under In the Image Clothing Company's main site that is the pinky toes and the pinky fingers, because they're the neutral. Okay, straight forward from the pinky toes and straight out from the outside of the forearm, down and out that pinky finger is the neutral. Anyway, I'm thinking about this snake, and it's not going to bite Dante if he's not attacking it. Snakes don't really bite anything that they don't feel threatened by, or that they can't actually fit in their mouth to eat. But still, I mean, I don't know what that thing was. It could very well be a venomous snake. I just don't know. They're all over the place. Like western diamondback rattlesnakes, they're around here. I've seen those before. It just is what it is, man. I mean, we're in the true wilderness here in St. George, Utah. I've been here many times, and it's awesome. I'm just saying, you got to look out for stuff like this when you have dogs. That's the big thing I'm saying. In the Image Clothing Company Poodles is one of our fourths, right? Letting dogs stay natural, specializing in purebred, standard-sized poodles, the large side of the breed of the poodle, but giving information that applies to all dogs. So that's really what I'm saying. I'm not nervous for myself because I understand this, but Dante, he doesn't really know probably anything about snakes yet at all, And also, he's just got a prey drive to the degree that he does. He might try to attack something like that if he sees it. Maybe. Dante specifically is a very gentle dog, but it just, it just is what it is what I'm saying. You got to be watching out for stuff like this for the sake of the health of your dog. I think about a lot of this kind of stuff just because I take care of my dog and my dogs going forth. But I'm also the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, with 1/4 of us being In The Image Clothing Company poodles. And this is what I'm saying. This is what we do, stuff like this, right? So anyway, the shoulders. If we can't have our arms resting at our sides, okay, neutral, with gravity, front to back and left to right, just hanging down at our sides. Sorry, Dante, I was stepping on your tail, actually. Good dog. But then our shoulders, they won't be even. So mind the gap. It's an episode title of In The Image Clothing Company podcast, another one of our fourths, where what we do is we have deep discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. You don't have to be religious or believe in anything, but we're all human beings, the same thing placed on the same earth, designed by the same God. It's always been what it was before we got here, and it'll be the same after we leave. We can't even develop an opinion or a belief on how we got here until it happens. We get here to be able to develop a belief on how it happened, and that can't change it. So anyway, truth is truth, right? It's apart from all of us. We just discuss life, deep insights on life. We're on episode 204 as of today's date, the 2nd of May, 2026 of In The Image Clothing Company podcast. But what I'm saying is mind the gap. There's a lot of gaps that could happen, like between our own rib cage and our own arm. You're not going to be straightening your arm all the way if there's an oversized clothing item there just causing a gap to not be able to have your arms just evenly hang at your sides. And let's say you've got an oversized top that's causing this gap. Being right-handed, your oversized top's just going to fall off to your right side more than your left. And now you've got this imbalance of musculature connecting your arm that can't sit evenly against your right side if your clothing is causing more of a gap there, than it is on the left, traveling up to your shoulder, connecting into your spine. Yeah, you've got now a difference in musculature connecting to the spine in the center line of the body, and you've got spine tension, right? Where spine tension really comes from, the 2nd of May, 2026, even through the wind noise. This video, under In The Image Clothing Company's main side, well, there you go. Just an oversized top, not allowing your arm to hang at your side, whether it's a vertical gravity pull, just resting it down. The fingertips are just the pendulum of the other end of the shoulder, with Earth's gravity. There's just only one way the human body could ever possibly work. Again, it starts at the feet first, coming up. Put heels on shoes and we damage the entire body. Okay, but that's a conversation for all the other videos that's already placed into as of today's date, the 2nd of May, 2026, under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. Zero drop shoes, the term, just meaning flat. In any brand of shoes, zero drop. It's just like our shoes are barefooted. Well, there you go, but our feet, just the way they always are until we have man-made shoe design that can potentially put a heel under the foot to elevate it, change the natural curve in the knee and the natural bend in the spine. We'd actually probably want to call it what is more commonly called and properly called the natural bend in the knee and the natural curve in the spine. You elevate the heels off the ground and you just change the whole bends of the entire body traveling up, and now you've got spine tension. It's not a sales pitch, man. Clothing. You just either allowing your body to just work the only way that it possibly mechanically can, determined by the shape and length of the bones connecting directly to each other through ligaments and being moved by musculature connecting to those bones through tendons. Otherwise, you alter the body and it just can't work. It's that simple. Allowing the body to work. In The Image Clothing Company's main side slogan. Yeah, what really causes spine tension? Well, it's anything that could possibly, in any part of the body, be making any muscle, as one of the big things, that connects directly to the spine, just different. At different levels of contraction versus elongation on either side from the center line of the body at the spine, or different heights that it's connecting to the spine on either side, left or right in the body. And this is the same thing when it comes to the shoulders, because like I'm saying, the collarbone or the clavicle, just the same name for, or two different names for the same bone there, it comes up and in or down and out. So as it drops lower, it also gets pulled on and elongated away from the body. Okay? So what I'm saying is, sure, tops, anything different in tops, it'll just cause spine tension. But, you tie a drawstring one side over the other around the waist just to keep your pants on, And we've got a videos title here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, which is left-handed knots versus right-handed knots. And we essentially need right-handed knots on our left side and left-handed knots on our right side, just over toward the center line of the body, because we've got two sides to the body opposing the center line. And if you've just got a knot in the center of your body twisting your waist, you've got the height of the difference of the rope's thickness higher on one side than the other side. And like I'm saying, this travels up through the whole body, to the tip of the head, out to the tips of the fingers, but down to the tips of the toes. And now your whole body will have the spine be twisting. And now you've just got tension in the spine. And you can address your spine every day for the rest of your life, but if you're tying a knot around your waist that's twisted, you never need to address your spine, really. I mean, to get to the root of the problem, you address the rope you've placed around your waist to hold your pants up, your drawstring. Same with shoelaces. In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique is the top of the feet's function. We're just lifting the feet up, dorsiflexion. That's half the function. It's determined by the weave of the rope we put on top of the feet with the shoelace. Okay, the bottom of the feet, that's the other half of their function. We already discussed that, right? But the top of the feet's just as important. We alternate dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, lifting the toes and pointing the toes as we walk. And so anyway, spine tension, it's coming from anywhere in the body it possibly could. And the big deal is, it's what I said earlier with the importance of the same size hands. I mean, if we don't have normal working hands, just the hands alone, both hands make up a fourth of the body's entire bones. The hands and feet together make up over half of the body's entire bones. And we just can get different sized hands by just using one hand just about only ever, if we're right-handed, for example. And then now the hand being the shoulder will be dropped if the hand is excessively wide, for example. And then now you've got opposing musculature from the center line of your body at the spine, connecting your shoulders to your spine. Not even. You've just got tension in your spine because Earth's vertical gravity pull. I mean, that's the big deal. As Earth's gravity just continues to pull straight down, and now let's say our spine that's supposed to be straight up and down, meshing with Earth's vertical gravity pull, is twisted because of something like this, anything at all, discrepancy in the body. It doesn't have to come from clothing. Under In the Image Clothing Company here, we just discussed the anatomy of the human body in depth and discuss how to allow it to work, even if we had never worn clothing at all, to potentially alter the body and get it into chronic patterning. Anything at all, just being right-handed, you're getting into chronic patterning if you are. Or just being left-handed, you're getting into chronic patterning if you are. There's two sides to the body, and it just needs to stay even. But especially when we place something onto the body and call it clothing, well, you can call it whatever you want. It's literally, though, clothing our bodies, whatever we place on it. That's just what that means. You can damage your body severely. I'm looking out for snakes now, man, for Dante's safety. These are great places for snakes to live, up in these rocks, under all these little corners and crevices of rocks. It's great snake housing, Anyway, I understand that, right? I get it, but it was shocking for me to see that specific snake. I mean, I see snakes fairly often, just living in Utah my whole life, but that thing is something I've never seen, as far as I know, in person. There might be some kind of meaning to it, too, the reason I saw it while I was making this video. Really, like an actual, spiritual, if you will, meaning. Seriously, I mean that, right? Yeah, maybe. So, I'm putting a lot of intention on that snake. That's awesome. That's cool. Anyway, it's cool. I'm grateful that I saw it. What I'm saying is, yeah, the hips, like I said, the rotations don't come from the spine. We don't want to ever intentionally twist our spine. If you twist your spine, you've got tension in your spine. Well, it's that simple, too. It's not only just if we have patterning in our bodies that cause our spine to be tense, but if you're just sitting there and your spine's just not straight vertical with Earth's vertical gravity, or if you're just standing there and your spine's just not straight with Earth's vertical gravity and it's pulled down on us, right, straight up and down, well, you've got a difference, like I'm saying, in contraction versus relaxation, or contraction versus elongation in musculature on one side of the spine from the other. We've got the same exact muscles on either side of the spine connecting. You know, like one upper trapezius on the right, one upper trapezius on the left, and then a mid on the right and left, and a lower on the right and left. You know, all the muscles is the point, though, of the whole back that are evenly connecting, because there's one of the exact same muscle on the left or the right side. If the spine's not straight up vertical on Earth's gravity, well, if we lean left a little bit, let's say, all the way down to our fingertips, the fingers are slightly lower on the left hand than on the right hand. And so the entire body is off to the side a little bit. And so that's what I mean, is you can work on your spine every day for the rest of your entire life. But if you don't do everything you can in every second, every instant of your life to just keep your spine vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull, then in any instant ever that your spine's just not straight up vertical, like straight up and down vertical, you've got tension in it. Because gravity's pulling you down and on an angle from where all of these little tiny bones, they're not so tiny, but these small bones. This is a big video. We lost the direct lighting from the sun. I saw the snake. You know, it is what it is. I'm just getting through it with the information. And that's all it needs to be. But if it's not flowing all that, like, ideally, and that's, you know, an opinion anyway on how that is, but just meaning it's about documenting the information as of the 2nd of May 2026 in the Image Clothing Company's main side, where spine tension really comes from. Yeah, anytime your spine's just not meshing with Earth's vertical gravity pull, it's going to be tense in that moment. If I stand here, for example, and I just lean over to my left side and look at the ground like this, there's tension in my spine. Truly, literally, meaning there's not even support from even contraction of musculature on either side of my spine if I'm not just staying straight vertical with Earth's vertical gravity pull. And so this is always and forever in any second of your life. And so that's what I'm saying, is you take something as simple as this example. I stand here and I lean over left a little bit to look at the ground. There is tension on my spine. It's not evenly supported. Just immediately there's tension on my spine. But this is the same thing here as just having something like a seam in the collar of a top, and one side just a little bit higher than the other. You've always got a discrepancy with that top item placed on your body, a difference, right, in height from right shoulder to left or from left shoulder to right, if you've just got more material on one shoulder than the other in clothing. You know, just the seam is just folded over material. It's just twice as thick on only one side. Now your spine is just curved to the degree of the measurable thickness of how much thicker that seam is than it is on the other side. I mean, that's what I mean. It's mathematical truth. Clothing, well, yes, but before we can talk about clothing, what's it placed onto in this case? When we're clothing the human being, the human body, there's only one way it could ever possibly work. There's no possible opinion to it. It's mathematical, measurable truth. You know, that's what I'm saying. If we don't have our spine just meshing with Earth's vertical gravity pull, you have spine tension. So let's say you're reading a book every day in one hand, like this, spine tension, if your spine's twisted off to the side. Let's say you just, you know, right-handed and just doing anything we'd ever possibly say in life with your right hand just slightly lower than your left like this, or slightly reached forward more than your left like this. You've just got a difference in activation of the musculature connecting to your spine on one side versus the other, when the muscles are the same on either side, left or right, connecting into the spine. And all of a sudden you've got spine tension. You know, it's just that simple. And so, yeah, right, I mean, there's just no possible way you'll ever rid spine tension unless you deal with gravity and keep your body as centered as you possibly can. And you'll never possibly do this. It's impossible, physically impossible, if your clothing's not centered. It's physically impossible, because let's say you're asleep, you know, your clothing's just not going to fit you centered if it's oversized, as you're just sleeping in like a top, let's say. It's just going to move around, and now your musculature is just being pulled on by your clothing. It's just placed on your body, just the literal word of clothing the human being with anything. You're going to have spine tension the entire night you sleep if your top's not sitting on your body centered. But the entire night you sleep, and the reason why I'm using sleep as an example, because you don't have to even be conscious. You can be unconscious or in a subconscious state, entirely asleep. If you've got a drawstring around your waist, one side tied over the other, twisting your entire body, it's not just only if you're out there doing exercises that this will damage your body. but it's just mechanical operations of physical and movable by themselves bones connecting to the body the only way they possibly can, directly through ligaments determined by the shape of the bones and just the length of you tie a rope one side over the other around the body anywhere, you know, like in the center of it, like at a drawstring. Even asleep, your entire body's just damaged. Your spine's tense because it's just twisted, you know. And so you've just got difference in musculature from left to right. So this is coming from shoelacing discrepancies, clothing just not fitting properly, things like In the Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification. We've got rotations and seams nowadays because really the reason is that we have robots that stitch our clothing, and just the stitches that get used through that, you know, quick conveyor belt type, you know, stitching and mass-produced clothing. These clothing seams will come down, like the seams that need to be at the sides of our bodies, side seams of our clothing, right? They'll come down and they'll rotate. But our bodies have their own rotations within the clothing, so our clothing has to stay centered so our bodies can stay in their neutral from their own internal or external rotation. So like I'm saying, address your spine tension every single day for the rest of your entire life. If you're wearing rotated seams in your clothing, just because it happens in modern 2026 and going forth if it continues to, you know, just have rotated seams in people's clothing design that they're producing, whoever it is. Not In the Image Clothing Company, that's for sure. You know, our clothing will always allow the body to work in all the ways we possibly can. That's the whole point and reason we're ever going to be selling clothing. Simple, minimal, light, do everything clothing, brandless on the exterior, you know, staying centered, fitting correct, being made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials, just to keep the body functioning the only way it could, as if we never had anything placed on it to be able to possibly physically restrict it. God designed the body to work without spine tension. But if we're not even with Earth's vertical gravity pull, left to right, in anything throughout our entire body, you've got differences in your feet from left to right. It travels up to your hips connect to your spine tension, right? You've got differences in your hand, like we were saying, from one hand to the other hand, travels up through your shoulders, you know, up through your whole arms to your shoulders into your spine tension, right? And it's just what it is, man. I mean, you'll never address it through exercises, because you go do all the exercises all day, every day for the rest of your life, but then you sit in a chair, you just lean over to one side, doing something in only one hand, you twist your spine off to one side, spine tension, you know, Earth's vertical gravity pull. The answer to this video, well, there's a few answers to it. Let me say some of the answers to it, even if I give quite a bit more information in this video, just to be clear on what the answer really is. Yeah, to the video's title here. On the 2nd of May, 2026, under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, what really causes spine tension? Well, Earth's vertical gravity pull, and anytime our spine's not vertical, meshing with it, even just the slightest bit off to one side or the other, you lean left a little bit, you go external with the rotations on the left side and it gets dropped more. You go internal with the rotations on the right side and it rises more. Okay, just compared to the left or compared to the right, whatever side's internal more is higher, one side, whatever side's external more with the rotations is lower. Your spine's twisted, tension, okay? You lean a little bit to the right, your right side is lower and more externally rotated. Your left side's going to be higher and just more internally rotated. That's just how the body works, because there's just two sides to the body, right? A video's title under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here. The webbing between the fingers, okay? Also, just never interlock your fingers. That's a snippet I took from that video, but also just, yeah, never interlock your fingers, because that's what I'm saying. You get one side of the body just that much higher, the interlocked fingers height higher on one side of the body than the other, and you twist your spine. You know, one side of the spine's lower than the other, but that's not going to happen without the body twisting to try to just stay vertical, because the body's got rotations. Otherwise, we would just fall over if we lean to one side, because gravity just keeps pulling straight down. So that's a big thing, right? Gravity, and just our spine not staying vertical with Earth's vertical gravity pull. That's what really causes neck tension, in any case ever, any second of your entire life. Okay. the point with this is the spine's in the center, but it splits off at the hips, just the body's bones. We've got a leg on either side of the center going down, and that's why we focus on the feet arches so much under In the Image Clothing Company. They're a foundation, and they evenly oppose the center line, gripping these arches inward, because if the feet aren't evenly opposing the center line, they can't grip inward because they're on even opposing sides from the center of the body, stabilizing the spine in the center. Once we travel up past the hips, from the feet up to the legs, past the hips, we get to the spine. So if the feet are altered, they're not going to evenly be supporting the left and right side of the spine, and then you've got spine tension, just because you've got a difference in the spine from left to right, and the musculature's activation that connects into the spine, but just the bones of the spine themselves too, as they mesh, they're only the shape that they are. They've got to just mesh just about exactly centered always. Yeah, I mean, just about exactly centered, just about always. Otherwise, it's just damaged, the whole body. That snake, man. That was cool. It was cool for me to see. Such a bright colored snake. Usually that means they're venomous, and sometimes they have those colors to trick animals to thinking they're venomous snakes, because a lot of times venomous snakes have those really bright colors. But I don't know. I'm going to look that up when I get the chance to, see if I can figure out what kind of snake that was. Yeah, I'm glad I saw it. It's a cool thing. It's sweet, man. I just love wildlife, You got to watch out for it, but it's like just respecting it because it's there. There's nothing wrong with it being there. You just got to be careful on your end of things. And as the owner of a dog, you got to be careful for the dog, for their health and safety. Okay, but anyway, Earth's gravity, that's a huge point. Spine tension, that'll cause it, okay? The spine not meshing vertically with Earth's vertical gravity pull. Any kind of imbalance in clothing left to right. And I mean any kind of imbalance. And we talk about clothing in such depth. We give so many free modifications in clothing here under In the Image Clothing Company. And it doesn't matter the design or the time period. It doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be. You're just a human being. The body always works the same. Clothing has to just sit on the body in the same location for every body who has one, or every one who has a body, because it's about the way that gravity pulls down on our clothing as one of the big things. And, joints of body parts meshing with joints of materials, especially when we're introducing things like ropes, we just can't twist the body. And so any possible imbalance in clothing ever, it'll cause spine tension, man. Anywhere at all, period. Even if it's cleared an extremity like the hand or the foot, it'll travel into the spine. The spine has to come before the hand can be there. The spine has to come before the foot can be there. So another big thing, like we discussed a little bit in this video, is eating. And not just eating, but speaking and breathing and stabilization of the entire body. These are what the jaw does, at least these roles, okay? Eating, speaking, breathing, stabilization of the entire body. These are functions the jaw of the human being, and all the animals that it is the case for as well, plays into within the human body. In the case of us as human beings, the jaw, it does a lot for the whole body. So if we've got an imbalanced jaw, you'll never possibly have a balanced spine. It's not going to happen, because if the head can't just stay in the neutral head position, a video's title here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, your whole body will be trying to stabilize this ball of weight on top of it that is the head, and the only vertical bone supporting the head is the spine. So if the head's off to the side a little bit, because the jaw is, we twist the spine. Spine tension, and just one side's lower than the other on the spine from left to right. We just damage the body severely. If we ever have any kind of spine tension, that's what it is. Tightness in the body, it means it's not able to move well, so it stiffens up. It's like, we discuss scar tissue in the body when it comes to what we really do here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, getting out of chronic patterning, scar tissue and bone spurs, just, things built up over time in the body like this. Scar tissue is just toughened musculature, or excessively toughened tendons. That's what a bone spur would be, is where the tendon connecting the muscle to the bone gets excessively grown. Anyway, tension in the body is just like scar tissue. It's the same thing. It's just stiffer or tighter workings than would just naturally be mobile and limber for the body to be what it is, just this mechanical machine, this machine of motion to be able to move. So like I'm saying, you can address your spine tension the rest of your life every single day, but if you have an uncentered jaw and you don't do what you can to get your jaw centered through just eating with both hands and keeping your collars centered that are determining where your jaw's sitting, the collars of your tops directly and, permanently, if you will, determine where your jaw sits if they're not sitting centered. If you've always got an imbalanced collar to your top, you'll always have an imbalanced jaw. It's impossible to not have that be the case. Gravity, if nothing else, but also just the physical direct contact against the musculature around the neck, going to the jaw directly, and any other musculature, though, that's stabilizing the head. Well, the head won't be stable if the neck's not stable, and then you've got spine tension. There you go, right? So it's things like the hands, the feet, the jaw, anything possible in clothing, and then just all of this together, any kind of imbalance or discrepancy there, being intentional to not have it be there, and just stay vertical over Earth's vertical gravity pull, because it's centered vertical and the spine's centered vertical in the body from everything else, out to the extremity of the fingertips, to the extremity of the toes on both left and right arms and legs. So we discussed this universal human design under In the Image Clothing Company, and how there's only one way the human body could ever work. But let's say you've got something like any of these things, amputation, deformity, birth defect, or major surgery, that alters your body a little bit or quite a bit, or just sets your body apart in its workings. You can only be set apart from the universal human design, is the big point. So we need to get as close as we can to the universal human design in all of our own individualistic situations. And so what really causes spine tension? Well, if you've got an amputation, and the reason why is Earth's gravity. Okay, we've just got to have the spine vertical. Let's talk about this a little bit, at least in this video. I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but when I was saying we should never intentionally twist the spine, the rotations come from the feet up to the hips, or the shoulders out to the fingertips, the hips down to the feet, or the fingertips up to the shoulders, right? And the shoulders and the hips is where the rotations come from in the body. And so we don't want to be trying to twist over to do things with our spine in life. We want to twist our hips from our feet all the way up to our hips. We want to twist the hips in order to keep the spine centered, to keep the spine stabilized with this even opposing musculature to the center line of the spine. Like I'm saying, what really causes spine tension, this video's title under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, the 2nd of May 2026. Well, if we're not having the rotations come from our hips, and we're trying to get the rotation from our spine, we're just going to have tension in the spine, because the spine shouldn't have that torsion being put on it. The hips should have the rotations, so the spine can stay evenly contracted left to right to stay stable at our trunk, if you will, at our torso. Again, with our breathing happening, even expansion and contraction left to right, and all the bones of the ribs, in every single breath we take, this has to be stabilized from left to right. And if we're trying to twist at the spine to do things in life, we can't have the ribs even stay stable that are connecting into the center line of the spine to even be able to breathe as we do anything else we could possibly do in life. It's like how we discuss clothing. You don't have to care about clothing at all, but anything you ever possibly try to do or address in your life, you're doing it in and through your clothing. Well, it's like the spine in this case, when it comes to breathing, with the ribs connecting to the spine and the center line of the body. You can address any part of your body you'd ever like to, but the only way your body's alive, the very first thing, is breathing, right? Taking the entire body to stabilize, having all this motion, in the literal bending of the rib bones. There's some of the bones in the body that actually have bendable motion to them to allow expansion and contraction of the lungs within them and continue to cage the lungs. That's how the ribs are, as they can bend. That's how you can visually see it, and you can feel, the lungs expanding inside the ribs. The ribs actually move as well. There's cartilage connecting the ribs to the sternum and the central line of the body in the front. There's a lot of motion there in between all the bones of the ribs, and especially in the front of the body where the rib cage expands up and back to get a full breath. Straightening the body, and then the spine's straight. That's what I'm saying. Then we've got a natural curve in the spine coming from the body expanding at the rib cage in the front, just because that's how it's structured. There's more motion in the front of the rib cage than there is in the rear, just the way the bones connect to bones. Okay, front to rear, it's different. That's what I'll say. There's some context on that, because that's good context to give. Everything you ever do in your life, if you can't just breathe normally, naturally, neutrally, properly through your whole body, you know, with your entire body stabilizing, the ability for all this motion to happen in the lungs and the rib bones that are caging the lungs, by stabilizing the spine, the center line of the body, meshing with Earth's vertical gravity pull that the ribs are connecting into, then you can address the rest of your entire body, you know. But if you can't breathe normally by having a centered spine that your ribs are connecting to, well, then it doesn't matter whatever else you try to do in your life. You know, you're breathing through everything you do in life. And just like, you know, how we have to address our clothing because we're wearing clothing through everything we do in life. It's about breath, you know. Breath is a gravity kind of thing. The diaphragms of the neck is a video's title under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. You know, we pull up and back to expand the rib cage to breathe, but if you try to pull up and back on a spine that's not centered to just open the lungs all the way and breathe fully, you know, if you've got an imbalance in your spine, you've got spine tension, let's say. What really causes spine tension? This video's title on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, the 2nd of May, 2026. Well, you'll never get a full breath into your lungs if your spine's not centered. Just meshing with Earth's vertical gravity pull. But you have to breathe always, or you die. Right? One day we all stop breathing because we die. And so, you know, your body's going to try to compensate through all sorts of parts of it to get a full breath in, because you have to constantly breathe to be alive. And if your spine's not centered, just with even activation of musculature anywhere, even from the feet up, like I'm saying, or the hands in to the spine, then compensation happening in the body to try to breathe, just because we have to continue to breathe to stay alive, will just cause more tension in the spine. Imbalances play into imbalances in the body, you know. You've got an imbalance of differences in your shoulder musculature, you know, from something like just differences in the top item of clothing you're wearing, just placed onto your body with Earth's vertical gravity pull. Now, as you have tension in your spine, your lungs will expand and contract differently left to right when the spine's in the center. Your ribs will move differently left and right, connecting into your spine in the center. And now, starting from having just an imbalance in a clothing item with your shoulders now at different heights because the top item of clothing was different left to right, every time you breathe, your body's trying to get a full breath, and as it's doing that, it's recruiting muscles in ways that it shouldn't normally do that and can't actually physically, mechanically possibly do that with the spine in the center line of the body if it's already off-centered. Now we'll create patterning from how we're breathing because there was patterning that started by just an imbalance in shoulder height that started to have us breathe differently than normal. So patterning gets created on top of patterning. So we just have to focus on gravity. Look at the body as it is. It only is what it is. It's just a mechanical machine. Understand that it has to stay even left to right. There's even internal versus external rotation. Even lifting up or lifting down, okay, really pulling up or pulling down with musculature in the body from the center line. You know, forward and back and left to right, all the ways you could possibly say, whatever we did or didn't say there with motion in the body. You know, just levers, hinges, and rotations, it's all got to be neutral. And if it's not, well, you're going to have tension in your spine, if nothing else, just because breathing. If you can't just have your spine support your rib cage, caging your lungs, which are what we breathe with, to just breathe normally, because we're always breathing if we're alive, then things will stiffen up and tense up to try to really do all they can to get a full breath when it's not able to just evenly happen. You know, just, you know, all the ways that there's just an even centered neutral position to the human being. It's impossible to train. It's impossible to train to a resting state. Neutral is Earth's gravity, just resting the body. Like I'm saying, with the arms just hanging down at the sides, there's only one way the human body could ever work. I don't have a claim on it. I can discuss it so thoroughly, undisputed mathematical truth-wise mechanics of how this thing functions, the human body. I mean, personally, me, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, I couldn't even try to claim that I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. We have hundreds and hundreds of hours of documented video footage like this one here under In the Image Clothing Company's main site. We've got well over 550 videos. Well over 550, just right over 550 videos as of today's date, the 2nd of May 2026, and they're all similar to this one. Just about all of them. They're long and thorough and very, very thoroughly discussed of what we're saying, sticking to specific topics for each video. There truly is only one way the human body could ever work. But the reason why it isn't, well, anything different or discrepant from the body's neutral. We also discuss everything else, as I was saying earlier: standing, sitting, walking, eating, breathing, sleeping, hydration, whatever it is that we could say that we do as a human being. We're doing everything always in our life, if and where we are, in and through just the literal word of anything clothing our bodies. This is why we are In the Image Clothing Company. We discuss eating very thoroughly, and breathing, and sleeping, and all the things I mentioned. Anything else we discuss that we do as a human being. I mean, it's a holistic approach because the whole body's there. There's no way you can possibly do like what I'm saying in this video. Address your back or your spine to fix your spine tension if it's actually coming from your jaw. There's no way you can ever address and fix your spine tension or your back tension if it's actually coming from your hands. There's no way you can ever actually address or fix your spine tension or your back tension if it's actually coming from your feet or your hips. I'm going to say it thoroughly again with this one. There's no way you can ever possibly address your spine tension or your back tension by addressing it through your spine or your back if it's actually coming from your hips. There's no way you can ever possibly address your spine tension or your back tension to actually fix anything there if it's coming from anywhere in your body, your shoulders, right? And all of this, well, there's no way you're ever going to possibly rid the imbalances in these things if it's coming from what you're physically placing on your body, the physical thing of the literal wording of clothing that you're choosing to place onto the human being, clothing the body with anything at all. If it's just not sitting on the body, being pulled down with Earth's vertical gravity pull, the only way that this is, which is centered, and then meshing with the center line of our bodies at the spine, for the sake of discussing the spine specifically here as well. Anything you ever place onto your body that's just different or discrepant in any way possible, you will just have a damaged spine. It's in the center. So there's so many imbalances in modern 2026. In most all clothing design, you have to modify just about every single item of clothing that you purchase from just, where you do in modern 2026. So that's what we do under In the Image Clothing Company, is we give so many free modifications in clothing. When I say so many, I mean just the more that we give as time progresses. And, well, it's not about the quantity, but just what you would need to do. Yeah, but so many, just meaning we do. I mean, we talk about everything. Little tongue tabs and shoes, holding the laces in place when our feet actually roll outward a little bit. Like with this slight outward curvature through the entire leg, rolling off the ends of our different 5 length toes, different length 5 toes evenly, traveling up the whole leg to where the top of the hips are, the top of the femur, the femoral head, that upper leg bone comes up and into the central line of the body to the hip structure, or the pelvis, the acetabulum. There's this outward curvature through the whole leg, and so just little things is what I'm saying, tongue tabs and shoes and not using them, and just what I was discussing earlier. Any tiny possible thing in clothing that's discrepant or different. We understand this stuff in such depth under In the Image Clothing Company, I couldn't claim it. It's been documented and date marked under what I call the gift of video up until today's date, in this video, at least as of now, right, and going forth. But today is the 2nd of May 2026, right? So I'm just saying, man, it doesn't matter who claims to specialize in anything within the human being. They claim to understand the anatomy of the human body. They've got like a degree in something, like a doctorate degree, and they've gone to 10 years plus of schooling or something. It doesn't matter. If someone's trying to ever claim that you can train the human being to get it to do something, it's physically impossible. Mathematically, mechanically, just in all truth, it's impossible. The bones are just only what they are, and they just connect directly to each other. There's no way you can possibly have the human being do anything besides just what it does and always has and will be able to do. No claim. As I say, as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong, come back in 10 years, 5,000 years, any amount of time ever, to our information we're delivering here, the basis of what we're discussing with just there's only one way the human body could ever possibly work, and it will always be valid. It's always been the truth. It always will be true. Anything that ever was true always will be, and everything that ever is true always has been. The body's just what it is. And, if you have heels on shoes, well, body's damaged, It's something that simple. That's what I'm saying. Just these tiny, tiny little things. You can overlook something like a little seam that's different somewhere in the collar of a top, or a rotation in the seam somewhere in clothing. A zipper, how it interlocks one side over the other. Well, like I was saying, we just have one side of the body slightly, even just to the slightest degree, higher than the other. We twist the entire body, we lean the spine either left or right, forward or back from Earth's vertical gravity pull, which it needs to always mesh with, and we damage the entire body through all the extremities, to the tips of the fingers and the tips of the toes, up to the tips of the head. Well, the tip of the head, right? What I'm saying is, you can't overlook it. That's the big deal. Is a lot of the things we discuss under In the Image Clothing Company seem too small to matter. But let's look at the body. How many very, 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 very small things in the body wouldn't really allow the body to even continue to work if they stopped working, And so something like the size of a seam in the collar of a top, or something like a tag in clothing, or whatever time period is, just something like this. Maybe we stop having tags in clothing just in a few years from now, the 2nd of May, 2026 or something. We try to discuss things under In the Image Clothing Company in all the ways we can to have them be permanent, applying to any human being for any generation ever, even the first human beings, Adam and Eve, when they put animal skins on their bodies. Well, there's still 3 bones meeting at the edge of the shoulder that just have to have motion be able to happen, and you just can't have something physically clothing that area that doesn't allow the shoulder to move. And anything else in the entire body we could discuss like this. You tie a vine around your waist in the jungle. You don't have like an actual rope, the way that we have our drawstrings, as human beings in modern 2026, for example, and going forth. Let's say you just tie a rope around your body to hold something, like that, like an animal skin on your body to clothe your body like pants, It's still a rope. You've still just got one side tied over the other. Anything the slightest bit higher than the other side, left to right in the body, like this, the way that tying one side over the other with a knot will do, is you're just going to have a difference in the spine from left to right, and you've just got spine tension permanently. That's just how it is. No matter how thin you get the rope around your waist that you call a drawstring, and it could be something like an apron knot or a ribbon around a dress, or you just take a long sleeve top and tie it around your waist to hang it there so you don't have to hold it if you're not wearing it but you're carrying it with you. You're twisting your entire body, and you've got spine tension in that instant. Not necessarily that just doing this for a few minutes will cause, permanently until fixed chronic patterning, until fixed or addressed. The way that doing things like this, month after month, year after year, and then, into decades will cause fairly permanent patterning unless we're really intentional to get out of the patterning, and then be very intentional about our lives from there with what we know after that point of learning what's caused the patterning to begin with, and just how the body works, which is what we're discussing here under In the Image Clothing Company, and the point and our slogan under our main side, allowing the body to work. The only reason we are a clothing company, just because it's the only thing physically placed on our bodies. It's about the body. That's what it has been since the founding, and always is, In the Image Clothing Company. Always will be. Our main side here, it's about the body. Only clothing because it's placed on the body. And just to be so very clear, in case you don't know, because our 5-word company name, In the Image Clothing Company, no spaces between the 5 words, doesn't really explain what we do. But really, we deal with clothing. We'll always sell good clothing, but the reasons as to why aren't really explained in our 5-word company name. if you don't have the context. You know, we're designed in the image of God, and so there you go. And a clothing company, because anything clothing the body. But you just don't know that if you don't know that, and that's understood, right? So I'm just making it clear. That's the point. You know, just another date marked documentation here on the 2nd of May, 2026 in this case, under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. What really causes spine tension? Yeah, because, you know, the fix isn't going to be to try to massage out your back musculature or to try to massage out right around your spine. If it's something like you're tying your shoes unevenly, you start tying your shoes evenly, and it's going to help your back or your spine. You know, yeah. So all the things we could possibly discuss. There you go. In the Image Clothing Company music, another one of our fourths. A lot of what we do is show the sizing and setup of guitar to not alter the neutral wrist straight out from the outside of the forearm down and out that pinky finger, and the rounding in our hands as well, you know. But just in all aspects of life, no matter if you play guitar or even care about music, just as a human being, fingernails and toenails. This is gonna... There's an ice cream truck. Dante and I might get over there, maybe. We'll see if we end up doing it, but I'm wrapping this video up, so maybe we do. That's a real ice cream truck. That's funny. I don't see them that often anymore. I haven't seen one in quite a while, except for here just a few days ago. But you know, it's been years other than that. So anyway, yeah, fingernails and toenails, they're just natural support, God-given strength, backing and support to the fingertips and the toe tips as well. Fingernails and toenails, they need to be all the way to the very tips of the fingers and toes and cut relatively flat on the tips, because there's a neutral to the wrist coming up or the wrist going down, the foot coming in or the foot going out, you know, the gripped arch, pronation and supination, and just all the functioning in the body like this. That's the feet though, in that case of pronation and supination. The gripped arches, there's a foot tripod, and there's just that internal rotation versus external rotation, and just the different length toes. They need to be able to go evenly off the ends of them. The fingers, we need to just evenly stay in the gripped straightforward position of the only way the bones are shaped. That's what I'm saying. If you don't have fingernails fully backing and supporting your fingers, you're going to have spine tension, because the hands do their own function so that the shoulders can do their own function. If the hands can't do their function properly, the shoulders will try to make up for the function of the hands through compensation. The shoulders connect to the spine. Now we're pulling on the musculature of the spine, which is the shoulder musculature. You know, some of the muscles we mentioned in this video, right? So anyway, rhythm and poetry, lyricism, singing, guitar playing, spoken word, music geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ with the messages under In the Image Clothing Company music. Like I'm saying, you don't have to be religious in the slightest bit, but it's just life, you know. We're all dealing with the same problems in different ways, or different problems in the same ways as human beings. We just cycle through human beings across the entire planet. Every give or take 100 years, there's an entirely new population of human beings that exist. It's just life. It's just Earth. It's just what it is. We just come here and experience it, and we die and leave, you know, go back home to God. So that's what I'm saying. What is all that? How does that make sense? Well, no matter what you believe, it happens to you. You know, you're born and then you die. You're breathing just like everyone else. You're just part of this universal human family, this universal human design. It's just what it is. So don't believe me. But there's spine tension and what's really causing it, okay? Thank you. Some of the things, just as I say, there's a lot more I could have mentioned in this video as of right now, and as time goes forward under In the Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong, as the founder, and our team, you know, we'll deepen our information that we're delivering as we deepen our understandings, but we really know this stuff in such depth, there's no possible dispute to the real causes of why the body isn't, quote, allowed to work, unquote. It's God's design. That's the only end we'll ever get, is allowing it to work. We'll never get it to do anything unless we alter it through something like a surgical procedure or something. So that's a big point. A lot of people have so many back surgeries. Well, maybe not one person having so many of them, but so many back surgeries are happening to people across the planet, and they don't know. You know, they're trying to address their back, and it's not coming from their back or their spine in most every case, unless it's an injury directly to the spine. It's something through time, you know, year after year after year, through patterning, coming from anywhere else in the body that it's coming from. I've discussed a lot of things in this video to give a lot of context, and we just really do know. I'm not trying to make a claim. I'm not trying to sell something. We'll always sell good clothing, and that's a big part of how we'll make a living under In the Image Clothing Company, me personally, especially being the founder, Evan Strong. But I just make it so clear and hit it so hard. You don't have to care about clothing at all, but it's physically placed on your physical body all day, every day that you're wearing it. Gravity's pulling on it, your body's working around it. There's so many materials clothing could be made out of that could be very damaging to our bodies. You know, ropes introduced to the body amplifies all of this, and there's just so much going on here. So what really causes spine tension? There's a lot to it. Okay, thank you and goodbye.